Welcome to the Rose Hill Studios here at WFUV Sports. I'm Chris Carrino, joined by my peer Ben Oppenheimer, will also be joining me on this women's basketball season that's ahead of us. We are here to talk women's basketball in a women's basketball preseason special. Just talk all things Fordham women's Rams basketball preseason before the season coming up in about a week and change. And we got a lot to get into. But first, Ben, how you doing? Looking all jazzy. Have somewhere important to be after this, but never passing up an opportunity to look sharp, of course.
You're too kind, Chris, but you look nice in the polo. I'm not sure what brand that
Abercrombie and Fitch quarter zip. You need to get on the wave.
Oh, I thought it was Ralph Lauren.
You're too kind.
Yeah. Do you like Ralph Lauren, Boggs?
I do. I have some Ralph Lauren quarter zips in the closet, but honestly, Abercrombie and Fitch, they've been killing the game recently. That's neither here nor there, but people just need to get on that. Yeah. Polo's great as well. And what's the tie? What are we rocking on the tie today?
This is a Joseph A. Bank tie.
Joseph A. Bank. Yeah, I like the pattern. I like it looks good, especially with the pants. Yeah. You got the ring. Is that the Fordham ring?
It is.
Wow, very
Fordham
nice. Very nice.
2024 ring.
Very nice. I've seen my father has one. He's also an alum, and
of course.
I'm excited to get mine in due time. But now let's get into a little women's basketball, a little Fordham women's basketball season, as we just said, on the horizon. This A10 women's preseason poll just came out, had the Fordham Rams in the 9th position with 96 points there. Just kind of a general feeling on that, Ben, and kind of where we're going toward this new season.
Well, there's definitely been some departures and some additions, changes in the roster. Look, last year, this team started out very poorly, and then they definitely, you could say, they went on a run towards the end of last season. And I think their position right now is the A10, not just in women's, but in men's basketball as well. It's anyone's league. It's anyone's game. And I think this team can absolutely outperform expectations, especially when you have Taylor Donaldson on your team. That makes anything possible. 9th is it's sort of towards the end of the pack, but it's still relatively middle of the road. And I think that they can definitely compete within this conference and be respectable. A 6th or a 7th, they can punch above their weight. But we'll just have to see. And there's been in the past 2 years there's been some departures, and now it's kind of the brunt of the responsibility is on Taylor Donaldson's shoulders, and the question is she good enough to will this team to competitiveness while the other pieces around her will also do their parts?
Yeah, this Fordham team, as you said it, they had their struggles in the beginning of the season, last season, first season with Coach Bridgette Mitchell, who we're going to talk to very soon. And they're picked right around the bottom of the A10 preseason, new coach, just new feeling. It felt like a new start for this program, for this Fordham basketball program, and they outkicked their coverage. As you said, they kind of outplayed expectation, especially toward the second half of the year. They had their struggles, especially on the road, but then they cap off the season with probably the best win of the season in St. Joe's on the road, a team that was really vying for the A10 championship all season long. And then right around the end of the season, when Fordham really needed it for playoff contention, they went out and they got a win on the road at St. Joe's. I think that not only was a great win for their season, but it was a great win for their program and for Coach Bridgette Mitchell. Just brought them a lot of confidence, and I think it was very positive going into the season.
Yeah, I think I wholeheartedly agree, and I think we'll just have to wait and see how if the predictions pan out. Preseason coaches polls can always be skewed, can be very inaccurate. I mean, we saw with on the men's side, Rose Thrill 2 years ago, Fordham was ranked, I believe they were ranked 12th in the preseason coaches poll, and they obviously knocked everyone's socks off. So I think there's potential for that similar sort of thing to happen. And I think the best time, Chris, is when you get your feet wet in the non-conference schedule, even though people think that non-conference, obviously it's not conference. It's not when you have the full perspective, the full picture of where this team is going to be at. But non-conference is a way to see if the belief is legitimate that they can compete.
Right, right. And you brought up the non-conference. Non-conference is interesting this year. They have a game against Seton Hall. They have a game at Cal Berkeley, along with a game against Temple. That'll be a part of a Cal Berkeley, sort of event they have going on down there. Fordham will go down to California. It's an interesting schedule. You brought up Taylor Donaldson earlier. She is one of the biggest stories of this season. It's undoubtedly so. She was arguably the best player in the conference last season. A lot of good players in the A10, but she definitely was in that conversation. And to get her to come back, first of all, that's a major accomplishment for Coach Bridgette Mitchell, this entire coaching staff. That's a big move. But also, it has to give you a lot of confidence coming into next season. She produced at that level last year. To think she'll get even better this year with a supporting cast, maybe even more concentrated into what Coach Bridgette Mitchell wants to do. That kind of, all reads like a really good formula for this team.
Yeah, and I think, when you're in your second year, that can also be, as a coach, that can be a time of growing pains and a time when the freshness of the job wears off, not just from the coach's perspective themselves, but also from fans, from alumni, people who are watching from afar. And so not only is this season going to be a test for TD and the rest of her squad, but also for Coach B and how she's going to approach this sophomore year, so to speak, and her time here at Fordham and coaching this program. And I think, from what we've seen last year, the only way to go is up. There's only just more room for improvement. And really going back to that run I discussed at the end of last year's regular season, and you were there for some of those games, Chris. That's really encouraging for when you're a rookie head coach with a new program, and you're struggling mightily in your first season, and you're not sure the direction of where your team is going. How are you going to keep things exciting for the school, for the fans, to keep the players uplifted? But I think it's difficult to kind of spark an end of the season run, especially after the start they had. And I think that's due not only to the leadership of Taylor Donaldson and many of the other players in the locker room, but to Coach B herself, and that she kept that team together. And that's the measure of a leader, Chris, is not how you are when it's smooth sailing, but when you're in those troubled waters, how are you keeping your unit together? And I think she passed that test. Now, there's always the chance that a similar situation could happen this year, but really I think it's great for experience as a coach, not just in women's basketball, but in any sport, where you get the adversity first head on when you're still brand new to this thing and you just got the keys to the car.
Yeah, absolutely. Last year, this program, they felt disrespected by the preseason poll, right around the bottom of the A10. This year, they're not necessarily in the top half. They're still in the bottom half, but they're right around the middle of the A10. I'm sure Coach Bridgette Mitchell will use that as motivation again this year. They felt last year they were more talented than they were being portrayed. I'm sure they feel the same way this year. And just maybe looking more specifically at the roster, as you said, Ben, there's some returners, obviously. TD, Taylor Donaldson, a superstar for this team. Taya Davis, one of the bigger contributors on this Fordham team as well, one of the primary ball handlers on this team. Rose Nelson, another player, played major minutes for this team. Kayla Berry, especially in the second half of the year, really played major minutes for this team. A lot of returners, so there's some camaraderie there, along with a lot of new faces, either people with experience, grad students, transfers, things of that nature, or just freshmen that they're really excited about as well, the youth kind of aspect of this program. So I think there's a good balance in this program. We'll get into it with Coach B as well, but I think this roster is constructed well. I think they have the right attitude going into the season, the right mental headspace, especially with last season. I think it was so beneficial to them, that just experience from last season, and I think they're in good shape for their A10 slate.
Well, I love that word you used, Chris, balance, and that's exactly how I would describe this mishmash of players coming from all different ages, from different grades. You've got some new freshmen on this team, but you've also got juniors, you got seniors, you got grad students, as you mentioned, you got sophomores. So it's an interesting mix, and I think that provides a balance of different perspectives in the locker room where the freshmen are eager, they're wide-eyed, they're excited to be there. And then the veterans, not that they aren't also excited to be there, but they can provide that advice on their experience from prior seasons in a way that freshmen can't. And I think that dynamic is interesting, and it should be helpful to the chemistry of this team to keep a healthy environment within the locker room.
Absolutely. Can't agree with you more, Ben. That's it for us now. We're going to stop our yabbering for now. We're going to get Coach B in here, and we're going to talk to her just a little bit about this upcoming season, just get her thoughts, and we'll be right back with that. Here in the Rose Hill studio with Coach Bridgette Mitchell. Coach, just how are you?
Doing well. It's that exciting time of year when we're gearing up and getting ready to play against someone else finally. So doing really well.
Just overall, this time of the year, it's kind of a weird spot because you're not in the off season, you're not in the season, you're kind of in the middle. How do you kind of just take up your days right now? What are you doing in your days to kind of be productive coming into the season? Yeah,
we're finding we're looking at different offenses and defenses based upon what we already have in place to make a few tweaks so that, in the second quarter, if we want to come out and do something more aggressively when it comes to our ball screen coverage, we have that in place. We're ready to do that, and our girls feel confident about that. So we've just been studying our practice film, my staff and I, making sure that we're ready to go in the event that there's a close game, in the event that our players, starters or whoever get injured. So I'm sorry, not injured, knock on wood, that they, get in foul trouble. And then other people have to play and kind of what that looks like for us offensively and defensively.
That gives you a lot of flexibility. That probably adds to confidence as well, just knowing you can do that and make adjustments.
Yeah, it's always helpful to have depth in your bench, right? Like you want to be able to throw people in there and the game doesn't drop off.
Coach, you're coming into your second year here with Fordham. What have you learned from your past year that you're coming into this year with a new perspective, with new experience that you didn't have last year?
Yeah, I think that we learned as a team and program a lot last year in terms of the work that is required. And my staff and I, we set out this past spring at the end of the season to find players that are going to do the work. They're going to commit to the work no matter how much it is, no matter how many times, my team makes fun of me. I say baseline, no matter how many times I tell them to get on the baseline. And they're committed to doing that work. And I think that was something that, not that our team lacked it before, but it was an emphasis for us coming in. So we learned that we have to target student athletes that are willing to do that.
And Coach, taking the head coaching role, your second year here at Fordham, a new head coaching role for yourself. What do you think in that just experience of the last year or year and a half and change has gotten easier that maybe you weren't expecting would get easier?
Easier, I definitely think the connection with my players, right? It's the same at every program. When you take over a program, the culture was different than what you had and so forth. And I found it to be really easy to coach the young women that I have now that I was surprised by, right? Like everybody's still growing. We're still all making mistakes, but we gel pretty well, and they're able to go out and execute the things that I'm asking of them.
And that makes everybody's job easier.
Yeah.
You talk about team identities in terms of the character of what type of team you're trying to build, and in general the vibes within practice, within the locker room. What is your core identity as a team? What do you see yourselves as? If it's like one word, if it's transition or defense, or like, what is the microcosm of your identity as a team?
It's definitely going to be passion and grit, right? So our defense is going to continue to prepare us offensively. We're going to be aggressive. We have more players with length and athleticism, so we're going to look to press a lot more and do different things that we were unable to do in my first year being here. And so that's something that our team has been able to pride itself on day to day in practice. And so that's definitely our identity. We're gonna be aggressive on the defensive end for sure.
Yeah, identity was something we stressed, especially in the second half of the year last year. I felt like we really talked identity a lot. One of the big parts of your identity, Taylor Donaldson, returns to your squad. Definitely, arguably, if not the best scorer in the conference last year. Getting someone like that to come back, and we talked a little bit about it in the intro, for a coaching staff, that has to be a success, obviously. But what does that do just for your confidence, knowing you could bring a player back like that and get a player like that to buy into what you're doing?
Yeah, it's exciting. Taylor's a very unique young woman. She had a previous experience which brought her to Fordham, and she's been grateful and thankful for it since, right? She talks about how much confidence she's had coming into this second season, right, from all the work that she put in the first. She talks about wanting to have teammates that'll help her compete for a championship, and that was our goal, to help her and to find that for her. And I think that Taylor led the league in scoring last year. And so for her to get picked second team last season and to be preseason first team is an acknowledgement of the work that she's done. So she's, excited about that and honored by that. But she also knows that she wants to win a championship and she wants to compete with her teammates day in and day out. And so having someone of that caliber, 3-level scorer that also plays defense, right? She is going to play on both sides of the ball. It really helps deload us as a staff, right? So that's one less thing that we have to worry about when we're trying to coach all 13 of these young women.
You talk about that. You mentioned how earlier this team is very young. Do you see Taylor in a mentorship type role where she's taking new players, under her wing and trying to make them feel comfortable in their first year with this program?
Definitely. Any transition is hard. We've had transfers. TD was a transfer just this past year. And so to come back for a second year where there is some familiarity, right, and some level of comfort, you get confidence from that. And I think that she's done a really good job thus far of leading her teammates. She's a lead by example. We talk a lot about people that say they lead by example, but are people actually following, right? And she has some teammates now that her lead by example, when she comes in and she goes hard, they're actually following and seeing what she does. And so she's found her voice. She's being much more vocal this year. So I think that I would argue that she has stepped into the leadership role that this team needs from her.
Yeah, and Ben lightly touched on the youth of this team. What just excites you plainly about the youth kind of coming in and this new younger roster?
Yeah, they're young and they have no idea. Right? They have no idea.
Is that a good or a bad thing?
That's a great thing. Yeah. Right? They're like, oh, we just got to go and do that. Yep. Yeah. Do it as hard as you possibly can. Okay, cool, coach. Say no more. Right? And so that youthfulness, it's that young and hungry mentality. Right? They're going to go out and they're going to work and run through brick walls. Right? And climb brick walls, might even dig a hole and go under. They're going to find a way to get through the obstacle. And I'm really excited about that for our team.
Let's take it back to last season. You had a stretch where you struggled a little bit from December through early February, and then you went on that run to end the year. How did you get everyone to stay together? And for yourself, how did you maintain that determination to see things through and to get through that difficult stretch? In your first year, that's a tough test to go through as a first-time head coach here at Fordham.
Yeah, I think that the biggest piece to keep in mind is that they picked us 13 out of 15 last year, right? And I'm a first-time head coach, and the timing of, when getting our players in from the transfer portal, we had 7 grads that had all different agendas, right? Like they're pursuing their masters, and to try to get everyone to gel and be a part of a team, I was prepared for some lows, right? Our lows came when they came, like you said, in December. But I think that being an athlete and being a coach, it's all about resiliency and how you respond. And I think that we were able to take those punches and respond and come out swinging back. And so I was, again, proud of that.
Yeah, you said come back swinging back. I just want to talk one game from last year. The win on the road at St. Joe's, I was there. I just want to talk about the importance of that win just from a program standpoint. It felt monumental just being there.
Yeah, it was awesome. It's nothing like St. Joe's did a phenomenal job there. Well, their coach has been there since I was in high school. And so they had that tradition. And it was just amazing for our team to gel together, band together, and say, you know what, we can do this. In their place on their night, they had so much going on. All the ladies on the team were like telling me, and did you see this? And did you see that? I'm like, how did you see that? Aren't you supposed to be warming up? How did you see it? And for us to come out and perform the way we did and to execute the game plan, that's what it's all about, right? We're on our players now about memorizing and knowing their scout. If you know the opponent and their personnel, what they're going to do, you are prepared. And when you're prepared and you've poured positivity into yourself, you can go out there and be confident. And so we exuded the utmost confidence in that game. They were locked in. We were able to mix up our defenses, which I love, to be able to keep them on their toes. And we hit shots, right? It came down to us getting stops, just like all basketball games, getting stops and getting buckets. And we were able to do that successfully against them when they were at their peak.
Yeah. That was definitely a game when, you proved the experts, the doubters wrong. Let's go back to the preseason poll. Do you think, just your perspective on it, do you pay attention and then, you're on a mission now to prove that wrong? Or is it more of a mentality of, I'm not even looking at that. I'm tunnel vision right now, focused on my program, my team?
Yeah, I'm always tunnel vision when it comes to that, just because it's preseason. They haven't seen us. We haven't proven anything. We haven't done anything. And so for me, it's really about our team and where we have our opportunities for growth, but then also to highlight where we're killing it. And we're doing some really special things defensively thus far. We had a chance to go to Greece and get a few games out there to play against some professional athletes. And so for me, it's less about where they picked us and more about the development of our young women on our team. And I think that once we commit to the work each day and legit getting better daily, then we'll see the results at the end. We'll do that. But when it comes time for competition, we want to make sure that we're prepared so that we can go out and execute.
And to start last season, Coach, the home record was obviously always in a good place and never really any point of worry, but the away record did come off to a slow start. How do you just consistently focus on just production on the road, especially earlier in the season in that first half?
Yeah, I think so many things come into factor, right? You have young women that are going through, young athletes, not even just on our team, right? You're having exams and you're having finals and you're having midterms. You have so much going on. Maybe it's a away game where you're seeing your family and you're getting pulled for tickets and to come and hang out socially, right? And so to be able to minimize their focus while we're on the road, we tried a number of different things, because just like you guys acknowledged, we realized we're like, man, when on the road, we got to switch some things up to make sure we can perform. And I think that was last year's challenge. I think that this year's team is totally different, and I think we'll have our own obstacles. But like every coach, we're always trying to find a solution to the problem, and that was definitely a problem last year for us.
Talking about that student-athlete life balance, do you feel like your time at such an elite school such as Duke gave you that perspective of I know you wouldn't like that, Chris, because he's a UNC fan.
Unfortunately.
Yeah,
I got my Carolina belt on today. Just making sure.
Who raised this guy?
Coach B. Coach B, we can be very cordial on everything, but that, I mean.
Did he tell you how he wore a T-shirt?
I get double teamed.
Did he tell you?
That wasn't on purpose either.
It
wasn't. It wasn't.
I didn't hear about this.
I had UNC stuff on.
Oh man.
But I get double teamed. It's an unfair matchup every time on the road when it comes to these Duke UNC conversations. UNC team, especially the second half of the regular season, did not make me look great last year either. So yeah, but we have fun with that.
Fortunately, we're all at Fordham together, right?
Yeah.
And Duke is a great institution.
Yeah.
What I will say, you won't be alone this year, because my director of operations, Leah, she is a great player. She was point guard there at UNC, and unfortunately, something pulled in my heartstrings and got her here on board with me at Fordham. So
rightfully so.
Took in a Tar Heel with us Dookie.
Took in a Tar Heel.
Yeah. But seriously though, that time at Duke. Did that give you, with the academic pressures along with being an athlete, do you feel like that makes you really be able to have empathy with the players in terms of striking that balance and trying to, thread the needle through all that adversity?
Definitely. It helps you to be more understanding if you've gone through it, right? I think that this generation of athletes is a little different. They have more social media, more influence, more opinions than we did. But the work is still the same, right? The pursuit of a championship is still the same. So we have a better understanding of that. I also think that with our team, I think that every one of them is the type of young woman that I want to coach, right? Because that's what I was here at Fordham, which is another reason why I took the job, right? The opportunity, because we can coach young women that really want to excel both on and off the court. I'm a firm believer you don't have to do this or that. You don't have to be like a dumb jock and, struggle in the classroom because you're such a good athlete, and you don't have to do exceptionally well and be like, I'm only here for books. Like, no, you can do both. And Fordham is the place that afforded me the opportunity to be able to lead young women that are really passionate about killing it on and off the court.
Yeah, absolutely. Those two institutions, I didn't even think of it until you brought it up, Ben, but that does create a level of relatability with your players because you've done it, especially at the highest levels with, some of the, games you played in are the biggest it gets and the biggest stage. I know we won't be here for too much longer, Coach, but just to kind of wrap it up, what is your just general expectation on the season? Not even in result, but just expectations with the group and how you want things to go over the next couple months.
Yeah, I just honestly want each of our players to realize how much better they got from when we started to the finish. We've been having some individual meetings and I've been talking with them, and we've just been doing little snapshots of how much they've improved since they got here on June 28th, right? And so you see your growth from June 28th to the end of the season. Results don't even matter. Have you become a better woman and a better basketball player? Because if you can sit there and say that you have, and we have proof of that, we're going to get the end results that we want, like from the daily work. So I just really want them to focus on that. I want our fans and everybody to support us. That's what success looks like here, right? Having everybody come to our games and see how much they've been competing, see the work that they have put in, and see how exciting it is to watch a women's basketball game. We have some really cool promotional games where we're having themes and trying to get, our students to come. A lot of freebies. We've tapped into the community. We do community service since I've gotten here once a month to really tap into the Bronx. It's an awesome city, awesome borough. I'd argue the best, right? Because we're here. But we're really trying to connect with everyone so that they can experience and love the game that we love so much. We just most recently had a watch party, right, for the WBA, their finals. And
shout out to Liberty.
Yeah, shout out to Liberty. And we had people from the community come in Rose Hill. Like, this is just, off Brooke, my branding, right, person. She is our director of administration, and she had the chance to just go out amongst the people in the Bronx, our team and community service, right, and really invite them. And they came to watch the WNBA game in Rose Hill. It wasn't us playing. We were just supporting women in sports. And I think that this year is a great year for Fordham students, faculty, the city of the Bronx, to really back us and get behind us and support us in this pursuit of a championship.
Absolutely, Coach. Thank you for your time. Coach B, Coach Bridgette Mitchell, head coach of Fordham women's basketball. Their season starts next Monday. We wish you all the luck in the world. We'll be with you alongside Madi Dembele for the whole season. Tune in on WFUV Sports for that. We'll be right back with WFUV Sports.
Thanks, guys.
Live from the WFUV studios here of Fordham University, I have with me women's basketball. Fordham University, the Rams. I have Taylor Donaldson and Rose Nelson. Ladies, how are you doing?
Doing good. Nice to be here.
There we go. I'm ready for the upcoming season. It's going to be, Ben, your first season doing color as well?
That's right.
Oh, my God. Pitch me. I'm dreaming. I'm going to be doing color sideline with my man, Benjamin Oppenheimer, who's also joining us here in studios. I'm going to give you guys just a little bit of a toss, a little lob here just to start. How are we feeling about this upcoming season? Generic question.
Yeah, no, so excited. We've getting some scrimmage games right now, so just really getting keen to play actual games, play in front of a crowd, get to show Rose Hill, the new team, what we can do. So, yeah.
I think, Ben, before you jump in here and get started, I think my first question for you, TD, is you led all of the A10 in scoring, 17.9 points to be exact. Ladies and gentlemen, don't hold your breath because we have a superstar here. How do you look to replicate that as you go into the next season? How do you keep that going?
I think just trying to be the best me for my teammates. I mean, it doesn't always need me to score. Like, we have other scorers now on our team. I think we've recruited a lot of good people. So just being the best me, doing whatever the team needs for us to get the win is the main goal.
I mean, doing whatever the team needs you to do. But, I mean, 27 of 29 contests. I mean, averaging 34 and a half minutes of action. I mean, you would think that you get tired out there, but just to keep that level of play up is something that I would love to see as the season goes on. Ben, if you wanted to jump in here.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to last season, you guys had an incredible run in the final stretch of the regular season. You won, including the forfeit, 6-game winning streak. And then going into the tournament, you really played hard in that game. How do you bring that energy and that momentum from last season, where you really had that stretch where everything was going smoothly, and that was after you guys were struggling? So how do you keep that same energy going into this year?
I think we just have a lot to prove. I think the season didn't go all the way as we'd liked. Obviously, we want to win in the tournament also. So I think just kind of carrying over, knowing that it's going to take in practice every day, like getting better so we can have a longer win streak than that and not just peak at the end, but peak throughout the season earlier so that we can continue on to get more wins.
You say we, and I'm looking towards a player towards your left, Rose Nelson. I mean, junior year, third year.
Yeah.
I mean, you started your freshman here, only 8.7 minutes, but then the very next season, you're a consummate player in this rotation, day in and day out. What's the kind of, I guess, routine there that gets the Coach Bridgette Mitchell? I hope we had her in studio. I prayed that we have her here in studio. How do you get her to instill that trust within you and have you play heavy minutes in a rotation?
Yeah, for sure. She actually does that to us. She has full confidence in each of her players, and she really feeds that to us. So I'm someone who, wasn't scoring a lot, wasn't taking my shots, and she really was the one who was like building that trust in me. And now I'm in a role where I, like Taylor said, do what the team needs of me. And I think just the way Coach B coaches us, we just really know what we need to do out there.
Yeah, I mean, going back to defying expectations or going above where people thought you would be in terms of your standings. The A10 women's basketball preseason poll came out this month, a couple weeks ago, and the votes had you ranked 9th in the conference. Do you pay any attention to that whatsoever? Is that motivation, or it's not even on your radar?
I think it's definitely motivation. This is a second year in a row we're a bit of an underdog. I mean, better standing than last year, but I think we all know within ourselves that we're better than 9th, and so I think that's going to be a really good bit of a chip on our shoulder for coming into the season.
It's kind of the plague of collegiate basketball, but out with the old, in with the new. I counted 5 new freshmen. Well, 6 if you count LEDS. Shout out to Team Impact. But 5 new freshmen joining the roster here. I mean, like, how do you get them to come as older players on this team? Been through the war more so often. How do you get them to kind of sort of catch up to the program and get them ready for A10 basketball as the season inches closer and closer?
I feel like us as leaders, like, in being older, we kind of lead the way. They follow us. So obviously if we don't work hard in practice, they're going to do what we do. So I think just setting that foundation every day, like, we're going to have to work hard because the A10 is not an easy conference. Like, every night it's going to be a battle. So I think just letting them know, like, we got to be dogs every day in practice so we can do it in the games.
Rose, I want to throw this one to you. You're from Australia. Do you feel you had a bond with fellow Aussie Matilda Flood? After she left last year, what kind of relationship did you have with her? Because she was definitely, probably you could say it, like a voice in the locker room. And now she's graduated, she's moved on. But do you feel like when you're coming in as a player from a foreign country that you stick together with the people that you're familiar with from your home country? Like, was she important in helping you get acclimated to this team?
Oh, definitely. Tilly's my big sister. Like, that is someone I'll have in my life forever. She, if it wasn't for her, I genuinely wouldn't have made it through my freshman year. I think she got sick of me at one point, just all the silly questions little freshman Rose was asking. But yeah, she's definitely someone who paved the way for me and taught me so much on and off the court, helped me become a leader. And now I try to be her pretty much in the way I lead in the team now. And especially we have a couple internationals, so I try and, the way she helped me, I try and do that for other people. So yeah.
And is there it's kind of a silly question, but is there a rivalry with the Kiwis, with the players from New Zealand? On men's, there's Zach Riley, who I know somewhat well. Is there any kind of tense interactions there?
I mean, I'm not going to say too much, but the Kiwis wish they were Australian. So
Is that the whole thing? Kiwis versus Australian?
Yeah. It's like Mets and Yankees. Big brother,
Except
little brother.
one is significantly
No,
better. We're not going to go there, Ben. 1-on-1, WFUV Productions, ladies and gentlemen. But I want to point this question directly towards you two, because you boil the team down. It starts with the head coach. A fish rots from the head down. And to look on the sideline and to have a player coach like Bridgette Mitchell, there's a difference between one who didn't really play and she's played. She's been through it herself. I mean, what level of confidence and trust do you have in her to, when the going gets tough, you know that she'll pull a rabbit out of her hat, she'll get a set going? How much do you trust your coach? Obviously a silly question there.
Yeah, we trust her a lot. I mean, obviously she's been in the situation. She's played in college, she's played overseas. So she's been in the situations we've been in. So we always put our trust in her because we know she's going to have our best interests at heart every time. And she's going to always put us in a winning situation. So I think that's why we always have 100% confidence in her, and she always has confidence in us.
I mean, just continuing off that point, I'm just taking a look at her Twitter. As personable and as charismatic as she is, obviously it's good to have in your corner there. But personal goals, I just wanted to see was there anything, we're a little bit selfish, was there anything, I'll start with you, Rose, was there anything that you were looking to improve on as this season gets closer?
Yeah, definitely my offensive output. I definitely want to be a bigger role on the offensive end. Coach B's put me in a versatile role this year, so I'll be playing 3, 4, 5. So I'm excited to get in that 3 position, be more of a wing, which we didn't see too much last year, and then also just do whatever the team needs of me, whether that be on the boards end or the defensive end, getting stops, hustle plays, energy, whatever they need.
Taylor, same thing to you?
I would say my efficiency on the floor, just making that higher and having a higher efficiency all around, and then just rebounding more as a guard to be able to start our offense from the break.
I wanted to ask you specifically about, this is more so I wouldn't say philosophical question, but the emotional equilibrium. Being an athlete, you have to be a certain level of crazy there. And when the times get going and when the times get tough, how do you keep yourself calm? I want to enter the minds of Rose Nelson and Taylor Donaldson. What do you do, and how do you keep yourself in that state of flow?
Yeah, definitely. I think, personally, I lean on my teammates a lot. So I live with a few teammates, and I live with Taylor, and so we just try and hang out. We try and kind of sometimes separate ourselves from basketball because we're so encompassed by it. But definitely that, and then FaceTime home a lot. FaceTime makes the world a lot smaller, so I'm always on the phone to the family.
So also just mentioning a fun fact from last year is I lived right below some of your teammates.
Poor you.
Matilda. So sometimes it'd be with parties and stuff. I mean, I'm not gonna say anything.
Stop it, Ben.
Yeah. But look, anyway, let's get into the good stuff here with the schedule coming up. First game versus, you could say it's kind of, even though it's non-conference, it's almost like a scrimmage exhibition. It's versus Adelphi. That's a D2 team. Also, fun fact, to live right next to Adelphi, so I know them somewhat well. What do you guys think of? What's your attitude going into that season opener, even if it's non-conference? I guess some people will think that non-conference there's less pressure, but obviously you two would not feel that way, and I'm sure the team definitely thinks that every game is must win. That's the attitude you got to have. But what's the kind of strategy or just vibes you're feeling heading into that opener?
I feel like we're excited. I mean, obviously we've been playing against each other for a long time, so we're ready to play some new people, but I think it doesn't matter the opponent. We're going to go in and compete the whole 40 minutes. Coach B wants us to be a dog all game long, so I think we're just going in looking to dominate no matter who it is.
Raising the Bar tournament coming up very, very soon, December 21st. That's going to be a Saturday there in California, Berkeley, California, to be specific.
You'll be there.
I will be there. I will be there. That was supposed to be the grand reveal, Ben. Come on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ruined the surprise again. But again, you just talked about playing up to your competition and just seeing them almost as your equal. But a big school like California, does the nerves ever get to you? Like, how do you keep that all together?
No, I think it's fun playing against bigger schools because
Okay.
you always go in as an underdog, and I'm from California, so obviously I want to beat Berkeley, so I'm going in with that mindset.
Extra motivation there.
Yeah. And I think we never underestimate any team we come against. I feel like we treat them all the same. We learn our scout, we know our plays, and we just, again, put our trust in coach and, play like we're playing anyone.
And, you talk about Taylor being from California. I mean, what do you think influenced your decision to eventually make the change to come over to the East Coast, to the A10? What do you like more about the environment you find yourself in now?
I think just being in the city, I love it, the opportunity for after basketball. But, what brought me here was Coach B, her confidence in me, and I knew the freedom I would have on the floor. So that really interested me in coming over here.
Madi?
I mean, okay, first of all, this is going to be like a little sneak peek. New York or L.A.?
LA always.
Okay. Okay.
You got the LA hat on, so.
No, I don't.
Aren't you a Yankees fan?
Oh,
Dodgers all
Ben Oppenheimer, you're supposed to be on my side. It's just, I had to dress nice. This was my nicest hat. This was my nicest hat, Ben.
I don't know what to say, Madi.
What are you talking
You're
about?
confusing everybody
I'm
here.
not confusing.
You brought them in, and
We're supposed to
you're
be
a Yankees
interviewing people and you're yelling at me.
All right.
You're embarrassing me, Ben.
All right, let's get back to it.
You are embarrassing me. Nothing else from you, Ben?
Well, I kind of lost my train of thought because we're talking about you.
Stop
your
staring
Dodgers
at the
hat.
LA.
All right, I'll keep it cool.
The other words. So yeah, entering conference play. I mean, like, it's kind of like, how do I say this? Almost like a different, like.
It's a different beast.
It's a different beast going in, and there's familiar teams, a lot of familiar teams that tend to Dayton, VCU. I mean, like, what is it with their program specifically that keeps them like ahead of the game, if you will?
You said VCU?
VCU and Dayton specifically. Those were the two teams that I wanted. But we'll start with VCU.
I would say VCU. They're just always long and athletic. I mean, they always have solid guards and solid bigs. And they play really tough defense, pressure defense. And I think that's always going to make them good. Like, defense helps you win games. So I think year in, year out, they always bring in the solid guards and the solid bigs to have a stable offense.
I'm curious, you two are college players. There's a lot going on. There's a lot that happened in the WNBA. I'm curious, who are some of your favorite pro players that you look up to in terms of not just their game, but their leadership qualities or their personal qualities? I'm curious, who do you look up to?
I really like Skylar Diggins-Smith and Asia Wilson. I feel like they are them true selves on and off the floor, and they're going to always advocate for themselves and women's basketball, women of color, but I feel like them as people are even better than them as athletes.
I extend that question to you, Rose, because being an international player coming to the United States, I mean, you see the explosion of basketball. Even if you just want to look at the U.S., I mean, the expansion team, Golden State's getting the Valkyries next year. Valkyries, I cannot talk. Getting the Valkyries next year. I believe Portland is getting a basketball team the year after that. But eventually, you could imagine a conglomerate around the world. What does that mean from you? Because I don't think basketball's that big in Australia. I can't imagine, never traveled, but what does that mean, just seeing the sport explode into new places?
No, it's definitely exciting. Basketball is definitely growing in Australia, especially in the women's sector. We have a lot of girls coming over to play college basketball, and now we got a couple girls in the league, so I always love rooting for them. And Sandy Brondello, coach of Liberty, just got the chip, so exciting to see some Aussie representation. But no, it's so exciting because we have some WNBA girls come over and play in our off season, so that also brings attention to our league. So I'm hoping to see some more girls come out of that and come over here to the States.
So you're living down under. How did you even get exposed to this sport? I mean, as Madi mentioned, basketball is not. I don't think it's the main sport in Australia. Did you just watch games growing up, WNBA games, NBA games, and get exposed to the athletes? I mean, I'm trying to think of a Australian NBA or WNBA player right now. And what's funny, what comes to mind is, even though people don't think of Kyrie Irving as Australian, he is technically Australian.
Try and claim him.
Born in Australia.
Born in Australia.
So going back to what I was saying is how did you get exposed to the game, and what just kept you hooked?
Yeah, I started pretty young. I was about 8. A basketball coach came to my school and like ran a little clinic, and he saw this big old second grader and kind of scouted me, and then I was just in love with it. I went to a camp and fell in love with it, and then I played like all the local comps, all the rep teams, state teams, and then I came on a tour in 2019 and did like just play
Here, you went on a tour here.
Came on a tour to the US in 2019 with a bunch of girls and played some games, played some AAU tournaments, and that's when I first got some college interest. And then from that, they're actually quite in touch with the Australian like national leagues and all that. So I then got more interest from that, and as I was playing at higher levels, and and it's definitely like taken off in the last 5 years with Australians going over. So I was now seeing older girls go over and play college and play at higher levels. So it was really cool, and I wanted to follow in their footsteps.
New York or LA?
LA.
I thought I'd get her the second time around. I thought it usually works like that. But just to bring it back to the explosion of women's basketball here, it's not just that the sport is going overseas or that the super team is here. It's also the homegrown talent that we have here. Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, like Rakia Jackson. I could talk for days. Paige Breckers is coming. Like, the rest of the class is coming, and I believe they're all around our age, 20, 21. Like, it's almost like a mirror image to see someone your age doing that. And again, thank you, ladies, for bringing women's basketball to the forefront. But what does that mean to you to see someone in your age group finally bring something, a group of talented women finally to the forefront?
I mean, it's so exciting. Like, to see women's sports anywhere, like I love seeing them all succeed. So it's to see them with NIL, especially them getting their bags at 20 years old, they're making a pretty penny. It's really cool to see, and I just love seeing people watch women's sports. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to go back to what you said, is that, you fell in love with the game, and I think that's just a big part of why people stick with it is it's a beautiful game to me, is watching the threes, watching the tough defense, watching people drive inside. You talk about how that is what got you hooked, it got you in. And it's funny because for me, I was in love with the game. The game wasn't in love with me. And that's why I'm in a studio here and I'm not on the court. My dreams of being an NBA player probably collapsed like it's 13.
As soon as they took off.
Yeah.
Started from the bottom and I'm still there.
Yeah. But I'm curious, what type of team in terms of will you be? Do you see yourselves as a team that gets out in transition a lot, that really hustles? Because I remember when I was doing an interview with the men's side with Coach Ergo, and this is 2 years ago. This is first year, and I asked him what type of coaching style, what type of team are you trying to coach? And he said, we're trying to get out there and run. So my question for you is, are you trying to get out there and run and get in transition, take advantage of those turnovers or those steals and really try to score quickly and in transition?
Yeah, Coach B definitely wants us to play fast pace, so I think we're always going to try to score early, get out in transition, but also be a good defensive team, because if you can get stops, the scoring will come. So I think just getting out in transition and being a good defensive team.
New York or New York?
LA.
Third time is not the charm, Ben. Third time is not the charm indeed. Ladies, one thing that I wanted to get to, and this is, I don't know how important this is, but
why you give me that look, Madi?
I'm not going to say anything crazy here. You know what? Let's switch for a second. We'll get to that later. Taylor, named to preseason first team all-conference lineup. Congratulations, first of all.
Thank you.
I mean, just preseason, it's usually, I usually like to think of it not as an afterthought, but I mean, how do you carry that from preseason? Because it's so not motivated to play. I mean, maybe you are preseason basketball.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously cool. It's a blessing, but I'm not worried about it right now. I'm worried about the wins and our team just getting better. So
Stay with it, Madi? Or you bring it back to me?
I'll bring it back to you.
No, okay. So let's get back into the schedule. Is there a game in particular, conference, non-conference, that you got circled on your calendar that you're looking forward to for whatever reason? You want to prove them wrong, or you feel like you have unfinished business. Is there a specific team in mind, looking at the schedule, and also in general? Is there a feeling of unfinished business that you still got to get the job done?
I mean, I have a couple. It's my third year in the A10. Like, you have some grudges, but definitely a big one is Loyola Chicago. They're the ones who knocked us out. They were our final conference game. It was the sting's still there from that close loss. So we definitely want to show them that who should have won that game.
Yeah, and you guys are playing them January 11th at Chicago, and then looking at the other portion of the schedule, you guys aren't playing them at home, so it's just going to be at Chicago. So that should be a big opportunity, for yourselves.
Yeah, and it'll definitely be exciting. Taya Davis homecoming game. We'll have a lot of her fans out there, so yeah, it'll be a good game. I'm excited for it.
Taylor, do you concur with the teammates' take?
a little bit. Mine is Duquesne.
Yeah.
Duquesne.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that rematch.
It's interesting. Both of those games are within a 1 week stretch. So you start out at Massachusetts. That's December 29th. Then January 2nd, you got Richmond at home. Then Duquesne away, January 5th. Then 8th, back at home, George Washington. Then January 11th at Chicago, as I mentioned. So that's the beginning of the season when you want to set a tone. So I think it's interesting that you note those are the games you're looking forward to, because those two big teams that you have the red circle marked on, that's when you really are trying to show the conference, show the players, show the coaches that you're the real deal. So do you feel like heading into that stretch in the beginning that there's a sense of urgency, like we got to prove ourselves now, or is it just take it one day at a time?
I would say it's take it one day at a time. I feel like, especially with our new team, like we have so many new freshmen and new transfers that they don't really know what the A10 is yet. So I think taking each day at a time, each game as it comes, is kind of how we're going to roll.
And what is – sorry, Madi, what is the A10 to you? When you said they don't know what the A10 is, what's the A10 to Taylor Donaldson?
It's a tough conference where every night you don't get a night off. Like, you have to come ready to play any game, or you can get beat any night. So
that was kind of my segue into my next question. Like, you talk about you have to bring it every single night. It's hard to do that when you're traveling so much. I mean, travel is a big enough factor. How do you do that without missing a beat in your games?
I mean, we're pretty lucky. We fly private to our games.
That's how they do it.
So that always helps us because, yeah, they're big on getting us back in, like, the same night and stuff. So, but we have our strength coach travel with us, our athletic trainer. They make sure we're doing our recovery. They make sure we're doing our treatment. And then we also have to do, like, most nights we have to do stretching with our strength trainer. So whether we like it or not, but, yeah. It keeps us fresh.
I just want to mention a game that I'm looking forward to is St. Joseph's. You had that insane upset win last year, and looking at the St. Joseph's game on the calendar, it's going to be, just taking another look here, it's going to be January 15th. That's going to be at St. Joseph's in Philadelphia, so not too far. Is that also a game you feel like, now that you realize it, is that is something that would be meaningful to you because you proved them wrong last year, and now heading into this year, you look at these preseason rankings, St. Joseph's got 4 first-place votes compared to Richmond. So Richmond's at the top in this preseason poll, but St. Joe's is right beneath them. So is that an opportunity for you guys to kind of shock the world again and do it once over like you did last year?
Yeah, you say shock the world, but it wasn't a shock to us. Like, I missed that game, but I was not surprised when I was watching and my girls were killing them. So I think they came into that game very. We've been the underdogs. We're second season underdogs, and I think they think that too, and they underestimate us. So if they dare to do that again, they can see what happens.
That game was in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, if I'm not correct.
Yeah.
But we always love it when it's Rose Thrill and the
I got the T-shirt on. Come
Rose
on,
Thrill.
Madi.
We love it when
Yeah.
the gymnasium is indeed jumping. I believe you guys host Dayton. I believe that's the game after St. Joseph's, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's take a look here.
I think it's like 2 or 3 days after on a Saturday.
Yes, Dayton, January 18th.
We always talk about how the Rose Thrill crowd acts almost like a 6-man in a sense. Do you guys get that impression? You look up, you see the crowd. Like, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, I feel like it makes the game more fun. Like, they get us pumped on us, like, even for threes, like, any little thing, they're always hyped. So I feel like it just makes the game more fun all around, and it intimidates the other opponent, so we like it.
Best crowd in college basketball, I would say.
I've heard
No,
that.
no denying that
No
one.
denying
Madi.
that one.
Yeah. But I want to ask, in the beginning of last year's conference play, as I noted, it was a bit of a struggle at first. What, specifically to you, Taylor, what do you think a leader, what qualities does a leader have to have in adversity to keep people together, to keep their team together, and keep them focused and not lose hope? What did you do during that time period to help keep everyone together that led to that run at the end? And also in general, as I noted, what do you think is the key to being a good leader in tough times?
I would say mindset. I think just our mindset going into the games and after the games, like even after a loss, just coming back knowing like, okay, we're going to go into practice and work 10 times harder just to be better and not have the same result as the last game. So I feel like just bringing the mindset and holding each other accountable, obviously, is going to propel each other. So I think the mindset, like accountability and just making sure we don't always have to dwell on everything for so long. Like a game, it goes by, like let it go and have a fresh mindset for the next game.
What's impressed you most? Again, going back to the 5 freshmen that are incoming, what impresses you most about them in practice? What's the one thing that I would say you would point out as like that's precocious, like they're young but they're playing up to that? Like, what's impressed you most about them?
I would say they don't carry themselves like freshmen. Like, they're not scared to, like they're giving me some hard hits. Like, they're not scared to really get in there and be dogs. Like, I would like shout out like Anastasia and like Camilla. They're really, really aggressive on defensive end, and they're not timid at all, like a typical freshman, which is exciting to see.
I mean, Ellie, counting as like Ellie L. I want to say
L.
Excuse me, L Diaz, Team Impact. I mean, the partnership with that. I mean, being named, her obviously being redshirt freshman at Scarsdale,
Yes.
New York. I mean, the announcement of her addition of Team Impact. I mean, you guys partnering with them. What has that experience been like?
I mean, I love it. I love Elle so much. She's the cutest little girl. It's really like fulfilling for our team. Like, we love her around. We love her family. We've even done some community service stuff with her families. Like their company, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's just really cool to see, and the work they do. They help kids with disabilities to be included in sports, which it's so great to see.
Can't wait for her to suit up there.
Yes, cannot wait.
If you've ever heard the expression Achilles heel, it's where your biggest weakness is, where you're most vulnerable. Putting aside the positives, what do you think is your Achilles heel heading into this year that, could be something, that could be a problem that you really are determined to work on and improve?
That's good.
I mean, I would just say, like, the newness of our team. I feel like we have transfers who haven't played the A10, and then we have freshmen who haven't played a college basketball game yet. So I think just being so new to everything and the environment and what kind of this D1 basketball life is like could be an Achilles heel to them, because it is a lot going on at once, especially during season. So I just feel like once they get the hang of that, basically.
Yeah, and then that's on us to get them ready for that. So that's what we've been doing in the preseason. So yeah.
I think I want to continue with that because it always fascinates me how like teams look outside of the actual court when they're not in jerseys. Like, are you guys with these freshmen day in and day out, like after class, like, hey, we're gonna study, we're gonna do our work, we're eating together? Like, how close is this team as a homogenous unit?
Yeah, I would say we're pretty close. So they come over to our apartment a lot, and they always hang out. So like
With the cool kids.
with the cool
I wish.
kids.
I wish.
Yeah.
But no, like we watch all like we've been watching the whole playoff series together, and like yeah, we definitely hang out a lot. Like everyone really gets along on this team.
What do you say? You think we just about wrap this thing up?
I think that's everything that I had for them right now. I mean, like, I'm excited for the season. Ladies, thank you for everything you're doing for women's basketball. And go Rams. The Rambly, it's coming. Roast throw. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, thank you both for coming on. I'm excited to be a part of what you guys are building this year. And I think you have the momentum coming over from last year where, when people counted you out, you didn't count yourselves out. And so I think that's the mentality you need for success. You talked about mentality, Taylor. I think mentality is everything. And it's a question of, when the going gets tough, can you just stick together? And, from what I've heard today is you're keeping the group close knit. You're keeping the youngins together, which is good. And that's encouraging. But I'm excited for this season.
I can't wait.
And particularly, I know Madi's excited for the going out to California because that's probably your first time in California.
I don't
right?
travel at all, baby.
Yeah.
I just stay home. Like, I'm boring. So I finally get some sunshine. The California sunshine, is that a real thing? New York.
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing. New York is
The
still
best
better.
weather out there.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah. But once again, thank you two for coming on, and this has been an excellent interview. We've gotten to pick your brains a little bit, what makes you both tick, and we will see you out on the floor, on the court soon.
For sure.
November 4th versus Adelphi. I'm going to be a part of that one, and to wrap things up, you've been listening to some Fordham women's basketball content with Madi, me, Ben Oppenheimer, our two incredible, gracious players from Fordham women's basketball, Rose Nelson, Taylor Donaldson. You've been listening to some Fordham women's basketball content on WFUV Sports.